let the guest let the guest chime in.
Can I barge in just for a second? To me, authority is not merely the ability to violently control somebody, because everybody has that to one extent or another. It's defined as the right to do it.
Right.
So the notion of authority is the guy that's allowed to boss us around and take our money. And I'll hand it back to you, but I would say not only will we do away with authority, there has never been authority. What needs to be done away with is the mythology that there can be authority. Right. It isn't that the current regime needs to, fall into the ocean or something. It's that the belief that there can be a rightful ruling class is what's got to go. But
that's the most dangerous.
Okay, you introduced ruling class. Okay, now I'm using that definition of authority. Okay, so we're on the same.
So let's get back to the issue at hand, the unreality. Go ahead, Larken.
Talking about living in the real world.
Sure.
Can I take you through 3 really quick, really simple, really basic lines of questioning to prove that authority does not and cannot exist?
I couldn't believe you didn't do that in the first 5 minutes.
Do.
I was still waiting for this.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it the whole time, and our conversation flies in lots of interesting directions. Can you delegate to another human being a right you don't have?
No.
Can 2 people delegate a right to another human being that neither of them have?
No.
Can 1 billion people delegate to another person a right that none of those 1 billion people have?
No.
Can anybody in government ever have any right that I don't have?
By agreement, yeah.
Whose agreement?
Who agreed to give them a right that none of us had to begin?
By, again, the social contract theory of government.
When I got here, there were nuclear weapons. I didn't agree to that. I have no say.
Right, if you want to talk about a bad government, I can tell you some problems with...
It's not about a bad government. It's about people cannot give to somebody else rights they don't have, which means people in Congress do not and cannot, in this Congress, in your Congress, in any government
on the planet,
literally can't have a right that I don't have.
Right. I mean, that's why that's why we're talking about this. And I built a studio because there's no country on the planet that I could really move to and get this good type of government, because all these different places seem to be run by a gangster cult already. So it's just I'm trying to work it forward. Go ahead.
But let's quick do the other 2. I think you actually already did one. Can you ever be obligated to do what you think is wrong? If an authority tells you do this and you think it's bad, can you have a moral obligation? Well, you might do it out of self-preservation.
It's a question of degree, Lark. I mean, you mentioned the football team, okay? So let's think, I'm a player, and I think, the rule that you can't, one of your teammates can't push the ball carrier over the goal line is a dumb rule, okay? And it's stupid, and I argue against it or whatever, but it's a rule that, if you're playing the game, you got to play by a set of rules. So that's true of a lot of laws. Now, but
you agree that you got to play by, you think the right thing to do, you think the rule is dumb, but you think the right thing to do is play by the rule because the game doesn't work.
There are certain things that you need a set of, that it's valuable to have a set of rules. That in certain activities, without a set of rules, you're not going to be able to do well. Now, to answer your question, though.
You're wandering away from a
To answer your question, if you have a fundamentally immoral law, okay, I mean, where you're talking about doing something, that violates fundamental rights or something on that order, then no, you absolutely don't.
Okay, good. And yeah, you basically said that before. The reason that makes the concept of authority explode is what it boils down to is you, Mr. Government, have the right to rule me in certain ways unless I decide that you don't. And that makes the notion of a rightful ruler just go poof. And the thing is, everybody believes that. Everybody, I can find an example where they say, well, in that case, you should break the law. Well, what you're saying is I, this human being, should obey the authority until I decide I shouldn't. Well, that means you're above it. It's not your master anymore. Just stay above it. Don't jump down below it and pretend you have an obligation to obey. Do what you think is right instead of what the master's telling you.
Larkin,
Milgram experiment.
No. So here, here's the example. Okay, again, you enter your contract. You agree to a dispute resolution. And this actually happens. Okay, in this dispute resolution, you are right. The other person's wrong. He lies. And the person believes them. And therefore you, by your contract, you had the decision to wrongfully give up your property or not, okay? And
yeah, but there's no, whatever I decide, I may think, well, it's not worth fighting because they're going to win anyway, or I may think, no, I'm going to resist this. Whatever I decide, like,
you agree to be bound by something that is unjust, okay?
Yeah, but I'm saying whichever direction I go in, I can never think, you know what I should do? I should do what I shouldn't do. And that's what the belief in authority requires. It requires believing I should do what he says I should do, even when I think I should.
No. Look, let me tell you something, okay? So the other person on the other side of the contract lied, but he won because the arbitrator believed him. It's an unjust result. You now have the decision. You could decide, depending on the circumstances and the gravitas, you could decide, I'm going to resist this. Okay? And there's a moral argument that you would be right. Okay? So that's a choice that you make. When a government becomes, this is what the colonists did, and this is what the Declaration of Independence says. It says if a government reaches a point, yeah, you can reject it. So that notion of rejection,
can we still reject it in this country? Because I think they take you off to a prison.
I think Jefferson would say you could. They were prepared to take the colonists. We're going to swing. We're going to swing together or swing separately or whatever. Yeah. We're going to hang together or hang separately. Okay.
The thing is, that clause was a giant contradiction. That was the good part, where they said, "Hey, if it becomes
the point is,
individual rights,
it's not a. You're not. Let me tell you, you're not going to be able to, what you want to do. And I majored in, I have a degree in philosophy. I went through the logic courses.
Don't bring your fallacy of authority
You want to
here.
construct, I read your stuff, I heard you. You want to construct a logical proof, okay? You can't do it. I mean,
yes, I
no,
can.
look, John Locke was not, he didn't miss some fundamental mistake.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of dogma.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of dogma. I agree with him.
He missed the biggest mistake in the history of man.
All right, well listen, you can have that opinion, but I can tell
that's the next debate. Is about Locke.
If you tried to construct a logical proof, too bad. I'm imagining he's looking at me.
I just did too. If people can't delegate rights they don't have, people in government can't have rights I don't have, which means they're not authority. The end.
Okay.
His terms are clear, his premises are true, and therefore his argument seems to be valid. What do you find a fallacy in it?
Because it's the same as his contract. He's giving authority to an arbitration system. Okay.
No, I'm not.
When you sign a contract,
I didn't. You made up that example of if that happened. That never happened.
Right, but
I didn't agree to have anybody rule me at all ever. Who else in the world? If everyone else in the world wanted to give to Congress the right to steal my money, could they do it? When none of those people have the right?
People could come together and agree to be taxed. I wouldn't.
I didn't. That's not what I asked.
Fine. Right. That's fine.
7 billion people, do they have the right to agree to take my money when I didn't agree?
I would say, here's what I think. Okay.
That's a one-word answer. Yes or no?
I think no person should be compelled to be a member of any government. Okay?
So, why don't you answer the question? It's not a complicated question. You can elaborate afterwards all you want. Can 7 billion people give the right to steal my stuff to another human being?
Don't appeal to laughter.
I think I already answered that question before.
Is it yes or no?
It's only yes or no. Saying yes or no is shorter than saying, I think I already answered that before. So can we have a yes or no? Can 7 billion people give somebody the right to rob me?
No. And that's what a constitutional republic was supposed to be, that 99% couldn't take away the rights of the one person here out of the 100, right?
Except Congress shall have
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
taxes. Whoops.
Yeah, it's word magic. I mean, the Constitution and Declaration are definitely spelling. It's the uses of linguistic architecture to frame out a constitution, if you will, a body that can be occupied. But, That's another future debate. So I think we've had a really good exchange of initial ideas, and we found more than we agree, more that we agree on than we disagree on thus far. All right, great. Okay, Larken, go ahead and close it out, and if you don't mind plugging your website or your books at the end, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I almost had to bite my tongue
I know.
off.
I saw you, dude.
I
was like, here's a guy who's seen a jury.
As a great protection. 12 complete imbeciles stuck me in a cage for a year for not sending a piece of paper to the federal extortion racket. And the only reason they did it is because they believed in authority. Because an authority figure said, I didn't do what I was supposed to. They didn't say I had hurt anybody. They didn't say I had threatened anybody. They didn't say I had harmed anybody anywhere ever, because I hadn't. They said he didn't do what the masters told him, and they said guilty. Juries are no protection against anything if they believe in authority.
But Mark, if you had the passion you have, if that didn't happen, though.
Of course
Yeah, because I already did.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't be quite as annoyed, maybe. Might not be quite as rude, but I was already an anarchist before any of that happened. Okay, so just as an aside, no faith in juries as long as they believe in authority. Now, as for protection and organization and, yeah, we're a social creature. I'm not saying everybody run for the hills, every man for himself. Organization doesn't require special authority. It doesn't require a ruling class. Defense doesn't require special authority. Nothing inherently moral requires legislation to make it moral. I mean, that's sort of a truism. Defending yourself against fraud and attackers and all the nasty things that can be done, all the forms that fraud and force and violence and aggression can take, defending yourself in an organized way, cooperating, it can be formal, it can have all these procedures, all of that's good, all of it is inherently moral, and so it doesn't require authority. The only thing that authority adds to the mix is the idea that there are some people with certain exemptions from morality. That's all government is the group imagined to have certain exemptions from the rules that apply to everybody else. But as long as you keep that element of there's going to be an authority that has certain powers that normal people don't, you're keeping an element of there are going to be certain people that are allowed to do evil stuff. Stuff that's bad if I do it, stuff that's bad if you do it. That is the belief that has to go. We can have cooperation, we can have society, we can have defense, we can have justice, we can have all these formal procedures, but until the lie called authority is gone, there will always be violent aggression, and not just because there are nasty people, but because there are billions of people that hallucinate legitimacy to evil when it's committed in the name of authority. When the people stop imagining that law can make evil into good, then we can start being human beings.